This is the shocking case of Vanessa Harper, a married woman whose secret affair with a young Indian immigrant, Rajiv Patel, in Los Angeles ended in unimaginable tragedy. Stay with us as we uncover every twist and hidden detail of this deadly romance. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single part of this gripping story. Los Angeles, with its sunlit streets and endless skyline, often gives the illusion of perfection. In one of its quiet, tree-lined suburbs lived Vanessa Harper, a woman who, to the outside world, seemed to have it all. Her home was immaculate, filled with carefully chosen decor that reflected her profession as a successful interior designer. Her husband, Michael, was a respected professional, and their two children thrived in school and extracurricular activities. Neighbors admired her, colleagues respected her, and friends often sought her advice, believing she had mastered the art of balancing life with grace. Yet beneath this polished surface, Vanessa felt a growing emptiness. The routine of her days, school runs, client meetings, family dinners, had begun to weigh heavily on her, leaving her restless and unsatisfied. She often wondered if the life she was living truly reflected who she was, or if it was merely the version others expected her to be. The contrast between the image she presented and the feelings she carried inside created a tension she could neither ignore nor express openly. One ordinary afternoon, while reviewing blueprints for a new project at her firm, Vanessa felt a flicker of something she hadn't experienced in years. Curiosity, excitement, and anticipation all mingled into a subtle thrill that made her pulse quicken. She didn't yet know it, but this small spark would mark the beginning of a chain of events that would draw her into a secret world she had never imagined. In seeking a reprieve from the monotony of her carefully controlled life, Vanessa was about to encounter someone who would change everything, forever. Rajiv Patel stepped off the plane at Los Angeles International Airport carrying little more than a suitcase and a dream. A young man in his early 20s, he had grown up in a bustling city in India, where opportunity often felt limited and competition relentless. Los Angeles represented possibility, a place where talent could be recognized and hard work could lead to a life far different from the one he had left behind. Initially, life in the city was overwhelming. The streets were wide and unfamiliar, the traffic chaotic, and the pace of life relentless. Rajiv found a small apartment in a modest neighborhood, far from the glamorous image of the city that often appeared in movies. He took a job at a boutique design firm, hoping it would be a stepping stone toward his larger ambitions. The office was filled with experienced designers who often dismissed his ideas, yet he persisted, determined to prove himself. It was during one of these early days that he first encountered Vanessa Harper. She had come to the firm to review progress on a project, her presence commanding yet approachable. Rajiv noticed her immediately. The way she carried herself, confident yet precise, her eyes examining every detail as if nothing could escape her notice. He was drawn not only to her professional expertise, but to something more intangible, a spark of energy that seemed to radiate from her. Their professional interactions began innocently, centered around design concepts and project details. Yet, as days passed, a subtle connection began to form. Small gestures, lingering looks, and unspoken understanding created a thread between them, delicate yet impossible to ignore, setting the stage for a relationship that neither could have predicted. What began as a professional rapport between Vanessa and Rajiv soon evolved into something far more complicated. Their interactions, once limited to meetings and design discussions, started to carry an undercurrent of curiosity and fascination. Vanessa found herself anticipating Rajiv's input, noticing not just his skill but the passion and intensity with which he approached his work. Rajiv, in turn, was captivated by Vanessa's confidence, her attention to detail, and the subtle warmth she exuded despite the strict professionalism she displayed at the office. Their encounters became longer, filled with small personal anecdotes and shared insights that went beyond work. They discovered shared tastes in art, architecture, and music, and each meeting left them with a lingering sense of connection that neither could fully explain. The thrill of secrecy began to add a layer of intensity. Meetings were scheduled at odd hours, often when others would not be around, giving them private spaces where conversation and energy could flow freely. Every interaction became charged with unspoken tension, a delicate balancing act between restraint and desire. Each glance, each touch of a hand over a set of plans, carried weight that neither wanted to acknowledge openly. Their connection grew more dangerous with every passing day, not because of a lack of self-control, but because the intensity of emotion began to blur judgment. Both Vanessa and Rajiv were fully aware of the consequences if their secret were discovered, yet they found themselves unable to stop. What started as admiration had evolved into obsession, and the invisible thread that connected them was pulling tighter with every meeting, creating a web of secrecy, excitement, and a sense of inevitability that neither could escape. As weeks passed, the affair between Vanessa and Rajiv moved beyond stolen glances and whispered conversations. It became a constant, unspoken presence in their lives, a secret that demanded attention and energy. Vanessa began taking risks she never imagined she would, carefully orchestrating her days to create opportunities to see Rajiv without arousing suspicion. Meetings outside the office became more frequent. Coffee shops in quiet neighborhoods, late-night walks in dimly lit streets, and occasional drives along the empty highways that stretched beyond the city lights. Each encounter was charged with anticipation, a dangerous thrill that made the secrecy feel almost addictive. Rajiv, though younger and newer to the city, matched her in calculated boldness. He understood the stakes and was drawn to the danger, unable to resist the intensity of their connection. Yet with every meeting, the tension grew. They had to navigate colleagues, friends, and family members who were unaware of the affair, always careful to maintain appearances. The constant fear of being discovered added a sharpened edge to their interactions, making them more exhilarating and more volatile. Rumors began to circulate at the firm, subtle at first, a passing comment, a sideways glance, but neither Vanessa nor Rajiv dared to acknowledge them. Both were caught in a web of desire and risk, trapped between the comfort of their separate lives and the intoxicating pull of their hidden connection. The more they gave into it, the more the secret dictated their actions, and the thrill that once felt empowering began to carry a weight of inevitable consequences. The line between excitement and danger blurred, and neither could foresee how far this hidden passion would ultimately take them. Vanessa's carefully maintained world began to unravel the moment Michael noticed the subtle cracks in her routine. He had always trusted her implicitly, believing in the stability of their marriage, but small inconsistencies started to catch his attention. Unexplained absences, vague excuses, and a growing defensiveness in her behavior raised suspicions he could no longer ignore. One evening, while cleaning up the living room, Michael noticed her phone left unattended. Curiosity mixed with unease drove him to glance at the screen. He found traces of messages, fragments of conversations that had been deleted but were still partially recoverable. The evidence was enough to confirm his worst fears. Vanessa was hiding something significant, something that went beyond ordinary secrecy. Panic set in for both Vanessa and Rajiv as the possibility of discovery became imminent. The careful schedules, secret locations, and hidden communications that had once felt thrilling now carried the weight of impending exposure. Rajiv feared that everything he had worked for, his career, his reputation, and even his safety, could be destroyed in an instant. Vanessa faced a different kind of terror, the potential collapse of the life she had built with Michael, the life she had outwardly perfected. Their connection, once exhilarating, now felt like a trap with no clear escape. The knowledge that discovery was near forced both to make decisions in haste, driven more by fear than reason. The delicate balance of secrecy that had defined their relationship began to crumble, creating cracks that widened with every passing hour. In that fragile moment, the line between desire and danger became impossibly thin, and the consequences of their hidden actions loomed larger than either could imagine. Just as the pressure of exposure reached its peak, Rajiv received news that seemed like a lifeline. A prestigious design firm in another city had offered him a position, one that could dramatically advance his career and provide a fresh start far from the tangled web he had become part of in Los Angeles. The opportunity promised freedom, a chance to pursue his ambitions without the constant weight of secrecy and fear. Yet the timing was impossible. Leaving Vanessa meant confronting the reality of the affair and acknowledging everything they had shared in secret. It was not just about walking away from a city or a job. It was about leaving a relationship that had consumed him, one that he could not simply abandon without consequence. Vanessa, meanwhile, was caught in her own storm of conflicting emotions. Part of her longed for the escape that Rajiv's departure could provide, a chance to end the dangerous liaison before it destroyed her life completely. But another part of her resisted the separation, unwilling to let go of the connection that had reignited feelings she thought were long buried. Anxiety mounted as they faced the impossibility of their situation. Every decision felt like a trap, with no option free of risk or regret. Time pressed against them, making each moment more urgent and each choice more critical. The affair, once a source of excitement and thrill, had become a burden heavier than either could carry alone. The path forward was unclear, and the tension between desire and consequence reached its breaking point, leaving both Vanessa and Rajiv teetering on the edge of decisions that would change their lives forever. The night that would change everything began like any other, with the thrill of secrecy masking the danger that lay ahead. Vanessa and Rajiv had arranged to meet at a hotel far from prying eyes, a place where they could finally be alone without fear of interruption. The room, dimly lit and quiet, seemed to offer a temporary refuge from the pressures of their separate lives. But the intensity of their emotions, compounded by weeks of fear, anticipation, and tension, made the evening volatile from the start. Miscommunication, small frustrations, and the weight of the impossible choices they faced earlier in the week escalated into a heated exchange. Words unspoken for weeks surfaced, layered with guilt, anger, and desperation. Rajiv, caught between leaving the city for a fresh start and maintaining the bond he felt with Vanessa, struggled to express himself clearly. Vanessa, fearful of losing both her secret connection and her carefully constructed life, reacted with panic and defensiveness. The emotional tension reached a breaking point, and what began as an argument spiraled into physical chaos. In the struggle, a slip, a fall, and a moment of unintended violence transformed passion into tragedy. The room that had promised escape and anonymity became a scene of irreversible consequences. By the time authorities arrived, the aftermath revealed the sheer intensity of the final moments. Overturned furniture, shattered items, and evidence of the desperate struggle between two lives caught in a web they could not untangle. In a single night, the allure of secrecy, desire, and forbidden connection had turned deadly, leaving both Vanessa and Rajiv forever entwined in a tragedy neither had imagined, and a city that would remember the shocking events for years to come. The investigation that followed the tragic night shocked everyone who had known Vanessa and Rajiv, unraveling layers of secrecy that no one had suspected. Police arrived at the scene to find chaos, the hotel room in disarray, personal belongings scattered, and signs of a struggle that spoke to the intensity of the events that had unfolded. Forensic teams worked meticulously, gathering evidence that included surveillance footage, phone records, and fragments of messages that neither Vanessa nor Rajiv had fully erased. Each piece of evidence painted a vivid picture of the affair, revealing not just the existence of a hidden relationship, but the obsessive and clandestine nature of their connection. Neighbors and colleagues were stunned. The charming, composed Vanessa they had admired and trusted was now at the center of a scandal that seemed almost unimaginable. Friends struggled to reconcile the woman they had known with the intensity and secrecy that had defined her final months. Rajiv's family, thousands of miles away, were left in shock and disbelief, grappling with the reality that a young man chasing his dreams had become involved in a tragedy that claimed his life. Authorities pieced together a timeline, uncovering the rapid escalation of events that had led to the fatal night. The investigation also revealed the pressures and risks inherent in living a life divided between appearances and hidden desires. What had once seemed like a thrilling, secret connection now appeared as a series of dangerous choices that spiraled out of control. The community, the families, and the city itself were left to process the stark reminder of how desire, secrecy, and impulsive decisions could intersect with devastating consequences, leaving behind a story that would haunt everyone involved. In the aftermath of the tragedy, the lives of everyone involved were irrevocably altered. Michael, Vanessa's husband, faced an overwhelming mixture of grief, betrayal, and confusion. The life he had believed secure was shattered, leaving him to navigate the difficult path of rebuilding both his own sense of stability and the emotional well-being of his children. Friends and neighbors offered sympathy, but even their support could not erase the sense of disbelief that hung over the community. Vanessa's story became a cautionary tale, a stark example of how the pursuit of forbidden desire and the concealment of secrets can lead to irreversible consequences. Rajiv's family, still reeling from the loss of a young man full of potential, struggled to understand how ambition and attraction had led him to a fatal encounter far from home. The city of Los Angeles, often seen as a place of opportunity and glamour, had witnessed another hidden side, one of obsession, secrecy, and danger. Analysts, journalists, and social commentators dissected the events, exploring the psychological and emotional factors that had contributed to the fatal outcome. In private, those closest to Vanessa and Rajiv wrestled with the haunting question of whether the tragedy could have been prevented or if it had been inevitable from the moment the affair began. The story left a lasting mark, not only on the immediate families but on the wider community that had once admired Vanessa and now grappled with the stark realities of human desire, temptation, and consequence. What remained was a somber reminder that lives built on appearances and secrecy, no matter how glamorous or controlled, can unravel in the most unexpected and tragic ways. The city moved on, but the shadow of the events lingered, a permanent imprint of loss and caution.